So for the presentation, I have consulted a variety of sources. So there is an organization called EAB, which does educational research. There's another educational research firm called EduVentures. There is Inside Higher Ed. There is a group called Inside Track, which is tuned into higher education trending and also does coaching. There are major consulting groups such as McKinsey and Strata, and I've looked at their research and their reports. The Horizon Report is an annual report related to technology that surveys the top technology leaders in higher education across the country. I have done extensive and regularly do extensive environmental scanning, and then of course there's my own personal experience. So that is kind of the constellation of sources that I've used to put these together. Again, you may have other ideas on some of the top trends that we will see post-pandemic, but here's a good list of 10 I think that we can start with. Okay, so let's jump right in. So first of all, I think number one on everybody's list is mental health. So mental health challenges among college students are the number one concern at Rutgers and across the country. And the need for student crisis support continues to escalate. This has been accentuated because of the pandemic, and the reality is it's not going to immediately go away post-pandemic. It has overburdened university resources and personnel, and that's on the negative side. On the positive side, it has raised awareness, and there is more discussion now about mental health issues and mental health awareness than there ever has been before. That's a positive thing. That's something that I certainly hope continues post-pandemic, that we will see that much healthier approach to understanding and supporting mental health as we go post-pandemic. The flip side of this is that the mental health issues are not just impacting students. So not only are students experiencing mental health issues, but faculty and staff are. And this is impacting their work performance, their attitudes about their work, and their willingness to continue working. So one of the outcomes could be that we could see the exodus of some of the most senior and experienced people among faculty and staff as a result of the pandemic. We also, on the positive side, again, have raised awareness of mental health impacting everyone, not just students, but everyone. And so everyone has a stake in being aware and treating and supporting good mental health for all. Another significant issue that is impacting everything about higher education is finances. So higher education, institutional financial challenges will remain, and they will continue, and they have been accelerated because of the pandemic, but they are forcing some new conversations. So some big decisions loom large, and you may have been following some of the news on this, as some institutions have cut faculty positions, they've cut programs, and so on. So these are some of the big decisions that are out there. Should institutions cut programs? Should they cut programs that are losing revenue, losing enrollments? What about faculty? How should they manage the supply of faculty? Should institutions look more at outside contracts? not just for services, but also for other areas as well. There, for example, are many content providers that are out in the market. Should institutions consider that as a way to generate new content for some of their programs? Another related issue is that there are challenges now in the public to tuition rates. So institutions, by and large, have continued to charge their standard tuition rates, for the most part, across the country. Some institutions, like Rutgers, have cut some of the fees, but by and large, tuition rates have remained stable. And some of this has been challenged by students who have complained that they're not getting all of the services that they should. Some institutions have been sued, in fact. And this may result in institutions being forced to provide some reductions or some rebates. Some institutions have voluntarily decided proactively that they're going to look at reducing tuition. Well, if we reduce tuition, for most institutions, that is the driving force of how they sustain the work that they do. If you reduce tuition, then that has a domino effect, a domino impact on the services and programs that can be provided. There are a couple of institutions that have announced an intentional reduction of tuition and fees. This could be a part or a start of a trend for some institutions changing the cost curve. It could likewise impact the selection, the curriculum selection that institutions provide. So I think the financial situation has brought to the fore some of these decisions that may have been delayed in the past because they were not a crisis. Now they are. Another huge crisis that has been looming large, and the pandemic has really brought it to the fore, is that of student debt. And student debt is now on the order of $1.56 trillion. This is second only to mortgage debt in the country, and it is unsustainable, especially given that the pandemic has hurt many of our students in terms of their employment, that many of our students who were gainfully employed pre-pandemic as they worked their way through school have now been unemployed. So not only do they not have the resources necessary to continue paying their way through school, they don't have the resources to pay back those student loans. There have been a couple of proposals out there, you may be following them, that elected officials are talking about, plans to cancel anywhere from $10,000 to $50,000 worth of student debt. It's controversial, but something needs to happen. And so I think in terms of the trend, I think we will see something happen in the area of student indebtedness. Online learning will continue. I think we all agree on that. But what the pandemic has done is raise and bring to the fore many pressing issues about access, issues of equity. We don't have broadband access for everyone in the country. We don't have computer access for everyone in the country. Rural areas especially are hit hard. The pandemic has also put greater pressure on the juggling of roles by learners who not only want to attend school and continue with their academic program, but now they may have children at home that they are teaching. They may have other loved ones who are sick that they are caring for. They may be in mourning over the more than 500,000 people in the United States who have died because of the pandemic. So this has really intensified many issues. So yes, while we all agree that online learning will continue, we also must recognize that it has raised many issues around equity that really need to be addressed. Another big issue that has been kind of cooking for some time, and really now has been brought to the front burner, is the role of adult learners and their questioning of the value of a college degree. So in light of everything I've just said about the financial pressures, the student debt, institutional financial pressures, adult learners are looking at this and saying, is this the best way to spend the limited resources that I have? I believe that new models can really help address this concern. And I think in terms of a learning trend, we should watch for an expansion in non-degree credentials and skill training. There are many alternatives that are available to a standard college degree now. The MOOCs, the massive open online courses, have expanded their reach dramatically. Coursera, edX have dramatically grown their enrollment and obviously their revenue as well. But we are also seeing large players like Google who are partnering with these other providers. So Google now is offering career certificates on Coursera, and they're involving and engaging key employers. So we're seeing this triumvirate that is bypassing largely the traditional higher education model. And we are seeing a few higher ed institutions dip their toes in the water. And one of the models that is being explored is a employer-focused custom degrees. So two examples. One is the University of Limerick in Ireland. In electronics, they have partnered with industry there to tailor their degree program to meet the needs of industry. And Texas A&M has partnered with the banking industry to do some tailoring, some adjustment in their degree program that comes out of the business school so that students who graduate are ready to, as they say, hit the ground running immediately and become productive employees in the banking industry. I think that this is going to be another learning trend to keep an eye on. So we've seen some of the pressures, some of the challenges, and now we're turning the corner onto some of the potential positive developments that we could see, that we're just beginning to see the little bit of trending for. So one of them was this expansion of credentials. Another one is the use of coaching. We knew this pre-pandemic in our fully online degree programs that coaching is very effective in helping learners stay on task and assist with their retention in a program as well as their academic progress. So it's a proven success. So the question then is, if this works for that audience, why not make this available for all students, especially in the face of the pressure of student debt, time to completion, and the questioning of a value of degree? So again, student coaching, whether it's done, and this goes back to the earlier point, institutional decisions, whether it's done as a partnering with another agency, another organization, or it's built up in-house, I think the learning trend is we will see more effective use of coaches. I think another post-pandemic trend to keep an eye on is as a result of our remote modes of working and learning. So this will both impact the providers, the higher ed institutions in this case, but also the consumers of education. So now higher education leaders can explore innovative educational practices and business models, but learners, especially adult learners, will demand a more flexible model. It's inevitable that, for example, learning and development professionals will adapt their methods to reach employees who are no longer in one place. So we will see a continuation of remote learning and flexible learning and different models of technology-infused education. So one of the barriers that has been a barrier to traditional learning and development and staff development and corporate learning has been this need to all be in one place. So we've broken down that barrier. So there is great opportunity for the future. People have already experienced online meetings, quizzes, even birthdays that they've done online. So a lot of the fear of doing things online has been broken down. And we could even see certifications being done formally through online modes of delivery. Next to last, I think another trend is multiple technologies are going to impact teaching and learning in an ongoing way. We have seen that happen already. I think it will continue. Teaching and learning, we know now, can be more robust than it was pre-pandemic. We will see greater use of augmented reality and extended reality, virtual worlds, artificial intelligence, greater and more ubiquitous use of mobile devices and syncing with wearable technologies and home systems. Delivering education can be continuous and not just time or place bound. So this is a challenge to developers and instructional designers, as well as our technology support teams. It's also a challenge to our instructors to adapt to some of these new technologies. Now that learners have experienced them, they know the power of them, and they are expecting some of these infusions into the courses that we are offering. And finally, we have seen for some time institutional collaboration. I think going forward post-pandemic, we will see increased collaboration in higher education and research. So as institutional budgets become increasingly constrained, regional and consortial collaborations will be critical in helping to identify efficiencies and cost reductions. Institutions will leverage their buying power, especially for educational and instructional technologies. And one example would be Rutgers and its Canvas adoption, taking advantage of membership in Unison. There is a Big Ten academic alliance that has done course sharing on a very modest level. Perhaps that will grow too. And another area of dramatic growth that stands ready to grow even greater is the Big Ten Cancer Research Consortium. So those are just a couple examples of things that are already going on that I think the pandemic now, given all of those pressures that we talked about early on in this presentation, there's greater pressure to consider these arrangements, and institutions are finding it more and more challenging to go it alone. So let me stop there and let me respond to any questions or challenges that you may have.